Hey everyone, today we'll be taking a look at the Alti time-lapse camera. When I first started time-lapsing my grows, I looked at the time-lapse cameras available on the market and realized that they were all pretty expensive. So instead, I just figured it out myself with some cell phones, webcams, and time-lapse apps. Now, years later, I'm still using a similar setup, with old cell phones and Wyze cameras being my primary go-tos when it comes to documenting my grows. However, there are some limitations to these tools which I've always had to work around, such as a lack of weatherproofing, which makes it really hard to time-lapse outdoors, not to mention the need to always be plugged in, and a lack of manual focus options to get close-up shots of things. So at this point, I feel like it's time to try out a dedicated time-lapse camera. After playing around with this camera for a month, I realize now that I should have gotten a dedicated time-lapse camera a lot earlier, although this camera specifically is not without its faults. So this is the Alti Eon time-lapse camera, which has a lot of unique things going for it. Its small compact size lets it fit in some pretty tight spots, and it's controlled wirelessly via an app, so you can always see what the camera is currently viewing without having to be physically near the camera. Unfortunately, the way it connects to the camera is via a local Wi-Fi network that the camera produces, meaning that not only can you not access the camera online, but you have to actively disconnect from your internet Wi-Fi connection to connect to this camera. It's kind of a pain to have to do this every time I open the app, but since I only check in on this once every few days or so, it's still tolerable. The focus is fully manual and can focus up to 7 centimeters away from the camera, allowing for macro time lapses, which is something I always had a problem pulling off. And the battery pack can last around half a day based on my limited testing. So long enough to capture a germinated seed popping out of the ground, but nowhere near enough to capture a significant amount of plant growth. Of course, the camera can also be plugged in while it's time-lapsing. And it also comes with this silicone enclosure to protect it from the outside environment. The lens part of this enclosure is great for use under grow lights or the sun because it can be extended out to block the light from above. And the footage this takes is well worth it. I'm showing my time-lapse of a pepper plant to keep this review from getting age restricted, but I've also tried this with other flowering plants with really good results. So I can start incorporating things like a close-up bud development time-lapse with my grow logs moving forward. The app is also a little laggy when it's streaming a live view of the camera, but it offers a full range of controls to get the perfect shot. And while it's time-lapsing, you can also view the current progress. At this price though, is it worth it? I mean, I'm not getting rid of any of my time-lapse cell phones or webcams anytime soon, since those do such a good job when it comes to general time-lapse footage and are a lot cheaper. But for more professional looking footage, and for the times when I just need to know that this is going to work, having a dedicated time-lapse camera is really handy, because there were times where I lost days of important footage to an app malfunction or because the camera lost focus on the plants. And for those times, I definitely wish I could have just gone back and used something like this for the peace of mind. And that's it.